So welcome to the Grand Nickel Tour of the Charles Frisch House in Bellmore, located at 2668 Martin Avenue. Out front you're looking at a classic Gothic prairie box. Building of these probably ended in and around 1910. They were the less elaborate styles of Victorian homes with the wraparound front porch. The telltale sign of the Victorian era is the very steep peak on the home, and some other appointments that clearly make it a Victorian. The lamppost you're seeing came from the grounds of Tavern on the Green in New York. At one point in time these were lit by gas, but it's converted to electric. So we'll take you inside from here.
Perfect. Walter, I wanted to point out that you
Sure.
are a landmark.
Yes, the house was landmarked last September for its architectural value, the history and involvement that Charles Frisch had in the town. As far back as it being referred to as Smithville South, the town of Newbridge, so on and so on. His family was involved in the development here from the 1800s forward.
Walter worked very, very hard for 4 years.
Actually 8.
8 years to get this house landmarked. And we have a little tiny fixture here. He has left no...
Everything's period correct.
Everything is
original.
period correct.
Okay, so you're entering the foyer, obviously, and to the left is the living room. Everything in this room, except for it not being wallpapered, is period correct. All of the furniture, the lamps, the fireplace mantle that you see, the floors, everything has been carefully and attentively restored back to what this home would have looked like in 1909, 1910. I elected to go with paint for easier care, but the colors are registered historic colors.
Wow.
With Benjamin Moore as well. So the color scheme is what you would have seen in that time period as well. You're looking at Rococo radiators that were manufactured in 1865. The house is oil heat, oil steam. You look for signs that tie things and connect dots. These shells, these shells identify the Rococo period. Here it is again in the mirror.
It's repeated in the mirror there, yep.
Right, it's repeated in all the furniture. The sofa that you're looking at has the bellflower on it. That's also another architectural appointment from that time period. The furniture you're looking at, these are pie crust coffee tables. I have them covered to take care of them, but here again is the bellflower.
Here we go.
And the dots with the bellflower.
Yep, beautiful. Oh my goodness.
Over here you have a fireplace mantle that was used before television was invented. These contain Philco tube radios, so you could listen to the presidential address. This one does contain that. And there are little brass clips that heat up from the amber light bulbs, and the heat causes the brass to spin around like a propeller, and that gives the impression of flames. All of the lamps are period correct as well. The shades were redone on the old wire frames because the silk had rotted. So I took the wire frames and had them reproduced exactly as they were.
Right, so the shape is pristine, it's exactly...
Yeah, the shapes are exact as they were, but silk disintegrates over time.
Yeah.
This one, although it appears to be metal, is hand carved out of wood. This is probably the oldest out of all of the lamps. This one dates back to the late 1800s. And in the center of the room, you have a Victorian pan lamp. These were the first lamps to be used after gas lights were starting to be phased out. These are called Carmel glass fitters.
Do you have the special bulbs in here, Walter?
Yes, those are Thomas Edison reproduction, the original filament type light bulbs. This is known as Georgian style, as is that mirror, but from the same time period.
Okay.
The inlay table you're looking at is on the French order. Again, you'll notice the shell, the ever-present shell or festoon that you see. And throughout the house you're going to see the bellflower. The original wallpaper that was here when I started to restore the home contained the bellflower on the borders and the shells. So a lot of the appointments have that in it now. I'll show you as we go forward.
Pieces, these that flank the room, the entrance to the room, they're very interesting.
Right, so these were Victorian appointments from another Victorian house that I salvaged and refinished and added them onto this house. They were not original to that.
What are they meant to be? Simply
Decorative.
ornamental? Okay.
Ornamental and decorative. A lot of Victorians were very ornate in their appointments.
Yeah.
This house was built toward the end of the Victorian era. As you were saying, and we were talking about identifying homes the other night, do you see the bow on this table? The bellflower is present again, the shell is present. If you look at this little bench here, the bow on the legs, you see it's the exact same leg style, and you have the bellflower on the outside carved as well.
Yeah.
So it could have been carved by two entirely different manufacturers. However, at that time period, this is what was being made and sold.
Beautiful.
And these are claw feet. You might want to take a look
Sure.
at the claw feet.
So, it's like a claw and ball, sort of,
Ball
or a
and claw,
half.
yes.
Okay. That almost looks like a half an egg. Okay.
Yep. They call it ball and claw.
Yep.
Yeah. There are different variations of it. If you look closely at the lights here in the hallway, so these are they're called reverse painted, and they're hand painted. These are also from the early 1900 period. These are where the gas lights were in the house originally.
Wow.
But these lights also replaced gas lights. These are some of the first shades, and if you'll notice very closely, the ever-present bellflower and the dot on the top and the
You're right.
bottom.
Yeah.
It was present in most wallpaper from the time period, on lamps. It was stamped on lamps, on furniture. It's in most of the furniture in this house, and it's on most of the lamps.
And there's another Edison bulb.
Yes, Thomas
Okay.
Edison bulb. Yep. We've restored everything as much as we can to have it look period correct, but again, the modern conveniences are really needed. So you're walking on a 1909 Douglas fir floor that's been restored. It was found underneath 3 layers of asbestos, formica, or linoleum actually.
And this was underneath. So you
This
refinished
floor
it,
was
you
underneath.
restored it.
Yes,
Okay.
finished it, hand sanded it, stained it, and polyurethaned it. This is a clay sink.
Yep.
Many of them were done in porcelain, over steel or metal, but I chose the clay to be most like what would have been used back then. These are period correct light fixtures that also came out after the use of gas lamps. This one was taken out of a brownstone in Manhattan, same time period. You'll see the shell here and the bellflower right here. These are hand-etched glass fitters that date back to Civil War time period. They hand-etched and they acid-etched light fixtures back then, but these happen to be hand-etched. These are reproductions of period-correct medallions. So these medallions did exist. They are actual patterns, and they've just been reproduced in resin, and I painted them to have the brass appearance to look like the light fixtures. And you look at the reproduction shelf that I had a carpenter make. You see the swags from the time period. They were represented in furniture. They were represented in glass fixtures, lampshades. Above the refrigerator is a convex mirror from the time period. You can see most of the mirror has disintegrated away, but for me it's not so much being able to look in the mirror, it's just representing the time period. These mirrors and original hand carvings in wood can range anywhere from $300 to $700,000 if the eagle is placed in a specific way.
Wow.
If it was carved by hand in a specific place, like Philadelphia. The food pantry was handmade for me in Amish country in Pennsylvania. I sent a photo of an original cabinet from the early 1900s that I found online. It was a photo taken inside a Victorian house from this time period, and I asked him to replicate it exactly, and he did. He made this for me. So it is, again, period correct, but it's reproduction. This would have been the back door of the Frisch House, where it led onto the back stairs. The stairs are present underneath this add-on floor here.
Yep, right.
That's the original cedar clapboard.
Right here.
But the folks that bought this house in the 1920s wanted to add a bathroom on, and they did, and I restored the bathroom. So this is period correct as well. You have the Rococo radiators, the original tile floor that would have been here. It's a reproduction, but period correct sink and toilet.
Wow.
The French shadow box is real. You'll see the shell up top and on the bottom. They're upside down. They represent the Rococo period as well, and they're referred to shadow boxes or mirror boxes. You have a birthday cake fixture up above, also from the 1900s. That's stenciled in blue, and that's where the color for the walls came from.
This is great too. This is one of those, the snake oil signs.
That's
You've
an
got,
enamel sign.
clear up your complexion with the hobo kidney and bladder remedy. I'm not putting anything called that on my face, but wow, that's tremendous.
I love it. Love that stuff.
And I know you.
Yeah, this is actually a mudroom shelf. You come in, you hang up your coat, put your shoes under it. This is from France, and present are the King and Queen of France. This was hand carved in the 1800s, and I found this down south and had it shipped up, but all hand carved.
And the lions with the rings in their mouths, which.
Right, all hand carved.
Gorgeous.
They were very well known for making scenes. Many of these have beer hall or bar scenes carved. If you Google this stuff, you'll have men and women depicted here drinking with the mugs, and they're very elaborate. No, it was very common. They always had these, whoever was monarchs at that time, they were always present in the shelf as well.
It's amazing.
And the hardware. Yeah. This is just a sun porch that was added on in the 1970s, but you've got a real old 100-year-old goose down stuffed chair and an ottoman sitting out here with junk on it. This is a very cool, again, the bellflower here. These are called pendant lamps, and they were placed throughout these houses in places where you wanted intimate or dim lighting. You'd see they're referred to as sconces as well.
And still all gas, though. The lines were.
Well, at this point in time, if it was gas, it would have been turned upward, obviously.
Yes.
But this replaced gas, so this was the first electric type sconce or pendant light that would be seen in many of these houses. Again, for intimate lighting, hallway lighting, where you didn't want a big blast of light. And for a long period, both gas and electric were used at the same time. So you'd have lights pointing down and up. One would be gas, one would be electric.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
So this is the outside. This was the outside of the house.
So here's
also at one point.
1970s asbestos.
Lovely.
You have clapboard, so you're getting to see time periods.
Okay, it's amazing.
So we move into the dining area. And when I restored this home, the clay pipe that ran through this center wall was still present. So the coal burning stove would have been in the kitchen. And there was, the clay pipe ran through here. So there would have been, a facility here for catching the coal and, heating both rooms.
Right.
It's been restored in a historic color. I actually, instead of pocket doors that would have slid this way and that way, I elected for French doors. It's just a personal taste. I like the glass in the windows, and I like them to open in and out, so I chose that. You'll see the 555-pound Rococo radiator there.
Okay, here we go. Yep, with the shell detail. Have you gotten the radiators from the same manufacturer, or you've gone around?
No, these were, I had to search far and high for
Holy cow.
each radiator. In the center of the room is a Robert Finley fixture. Also, Victorian pan lamp. That's Fenton glass. Fenton was a big manufacturer of, just ornate glass, display glass, and lighting shades and fixtures. And that's actually signed. This is one of the last pieces of Fenton glass before they went out of business. In the retail sense, a gift shop does still exist, but they're no longer manufacturing these.
Wow.
So they are rare indeed. They come in cranberry glass too and milk glass. It's referred to as hobnail because of the bumps on it.
Right. And the fixture was also a find.
Yes,
right?
the fixture also a find. Robert Finley manufactured these light fixtures in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And something else you'll see throughout the home, if you back up and sort of film this area over here, anytime you enter the home, smoking was a big habit of the day, so there's your big brass ashtray there with the marble base. I don't smoke, it's purely for display. And the chair, the lamp, and the coffee table, if you will. Anytime you had a sitting area in a home, they were appointed this way. If you didn't smoke, you at least had your little coffee table and your lamp right next to it for reading and such. Before we leave the dining area, here's my nod to Chateauneuf-du-Pape. I'm a wine fan.
Okay.
There you go, from the vineyards of Chateauneuf-du-Pape.
Wow, wow.
Want to head upstairs? Sort of a family history going up the staircase from Harry's birth time. His aunts, uncles, grandmother, grandfather, just the Eisenhower family history. And above you is another very rare light fixture from the time period. It's done as a basket weave, but these were very popular in that era. These prints too, the Victorian prints. This was called the ladies' card game. These were very popular from that time period as well. The mirrors that you see, all period correct and hand carved. This is the master bedroom, and I apologize, it's as neat as it could possibly be right now. But so again, this piece of furniture dates back to the early 1900s and was found painted with latex paint. It was painted white and blue and just a real mess. I scraped off some of the paint carefully, found out it's full mahogany, and it has dovetail joints, so I had it completely restored back to the time period.
Wow.
This is one of the very first General Electric clocks, but it's in running order. I had it restored as well. These little, they call them boudoir lamps, are also from the time period. They were present in all of these homes.
Precious.
The print behind you is from a very famous model. And there's a very big story with a very famous architect that goes along with her. This was manufactured she was from Pennsylvania. In fact, what I'm going to do is refrain from telling the whole story now.
Okay.
When I come to the society,
yes, indeed.
I'm going to give you the story. We'll make this a little project for folks that are attending. Take a good look at her face, and I'll give you a few hints. Early demise, but involved in a murder mystery. And a very famous architect. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay. The other light fixtures that you saw downstairs were in very bad condition and had to be rewired, repolished. This one was found entirely intact in a home that dated back to the early 1900s. These globes were not found with it, but everything else about it, the paint is original.
Wow.
This is acid etched glass. I'll turn on the light so you can see it. Unlike the one downstairs, it was done by hand. This is etched by acid.
So you take a paintbrush, dip it in
on
acid.
On the inside, right. Or they had some sort of stencil.
Yep.
And the bellflowers are present in there.
Yep.
This mirror, again, you'll see, I hate to sound repetitive, but the bellflowers are present. Everything was ornately appointed back then. Yeah. These roses were hand carved. You have silver and gold paint on top of mahogany. The bellflowers are present all through here. And of course hand etched glass, which was very popular in that time period as well. Most mirrors made around that time period had this particular design with these type dots. And of course these reading lamps swung for your convenience to right over your chair. When you were done reading, you swing it back out. And okay, we could move on to the next rooms. And you're coming into the little guy's room, and as much as I could retain the history, I did. You'll notice SpongeBob hanging from the Victorian pan lamp. So this is another version of the first lighting after gas. They were flush to the ceiling instead of hanging down. If you had a low ceiling, notice they're exposed bulbs instead of glass fitters. So it was just a less ornate and lighter version of the pan lamp, but it was still called a pan lamp. So, coming into this bathroom, this was done in a style that would have occurred a little bit later than when the house was built. This would have had the box and the pull chain in it because it was upstairs. You had your flushing was gravity based, so the box was filled with water. I almost did that, but then I figured I really didn't want to for my own convenience. I didn't alter this bathroom at all. I left the original radiator pipe intact, if you come in here and see it. So this is what heats this room. This was installed to give room instead of a big clunky radiator like the other ones are. If you look at these porcelain fixtures, these are period correct. They were used in the early 1900s right up through the 30s. Probably even present. I mean, I saw them in my grandmother's house in the 40s, over the medicine cabinet as well.
So downstairs you would not have had the box for the flushing downstairs?
Well, there wouldn't have been a bathroom downstairs.
Oh, okay, okay.
You know, the bathroom would have been upstairs because they were gravity-based. The box would be on the wall. It would be filled with water. You pull the chain, the gravity goes down.
Right.
You have a wash basin, which is original. So before plumbing, you got up in the morning and you filled up your
Yep.
pitcher with water. You put it in here. You washed and shaved in this area here. Candles would have been in here for nighttime cleansing or hygiene. These were your towels on the side. And this is an actual pitcher and basin.
Yeah.
These items here are over 100 years old. Over here you have yet another version of the Victorian pan lamp. You'll notice the ones downstairs were hanging on chains.
Yeah.
You see this has a bar, so it's stationary. It does not move. These also don't have loops or rings. It's on a ball, so it pivots on a ball. And these are hand-painted glass. Again, you have these appointments here, and on the bell cap there on the top, there's the bellflower present in the ceiling medallion. This bed is... Here's another quiz for the folks at the Historical Society. So, a print, very famous print, done by a very famous woman. She did a series of these with children, and they had names to them, Morning Hello or Good Morning, or so maybe this is the original print in the original frame, and she was very well known for depicting home scenes. You see the detail on the carpet, the coloring, the puppy. And it is a boy, believe it or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Looks like the Lindbergh baby to me.
It sure does. And you're right around the time period. All of the children she did had cherub faces.
Sure. And those beautiful curls.
She did quite a few of babies sleeping. And so maybe you can study that, and I'll tell you who it is when we meet next.
Excellent.
The house is settled in the past 110 years, obviously. You'll see doorways that are not even or level. Carpenter was outside, something didn't fit. Guess what? You took a plane, you planed it down, and you made it fit.
Yes, you can see it right there. Look at that.
Here. They wanted this door to close. It didn't. This is I've converted this to a little closet.
Yep.
But, they made it fit.
Take a piece off the top.
Solid mahogany original doors up here. Sadly, they were painted over before I got here.
Yeah.
And, stripping them and staining them were just too much of a project. So I elected to go with the paint. And that's pretty much the nickel tour.
It's phenomenal. I love the fact that you're living in a piece of history and you are lovingly, you're like a loving caretaker of this beautiful home.